Okay, you guys, we are live. Don't say anything we shouldn't say, right?
All right.
And I'm going to open up my Corona right now in front of our live audience. Here we go. You hear that? Do you hear this? That was me taking a swig. You guys ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, I'm sitting here with my bottle.
There you go. Geezer, I hope you have something to drink.
I got a Bloody Mary.
You are torturing me now. All right, here we go, guys.
I don't want. Go ahead.
Good evening, Texas bikers and bikers all across the nation. This is Texas Biker Radio number 394, and tonight's show is Happy Hour number 3. Number 3, guys. So we've been at this 3 weeks now, ever since this coronavirus stuff started getting serious, and it looks like. Well, we have some new orders issued today. We'll discuss that here in a little bit. But let's talk some biker stuff. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, by the way, everybody, we have online with me my VP, Sons of Liberty Riders, MCOG, and our SA Geezer, our national SA Geezer. And so, you guys, here we go. Let's talk about what we see out there over the internet about bikers today. And in particular, there was a post by the Motorcycle Profiling Project that dealt with, I guess there's a police officer in Colorado that was talking about murdering some Hells Angels. I mean,
yeah.
What gives with that? Is this guy in trouble or what?
Probably not. He sued them for. I can't remember what exactly it was he sued them for, but they're supposed to be going to court on that. I read a short article on it today, and I think they said the police are saying now that the bikers threatened them.
Oh. So they've got that on tape?
No, that's not on tape.
Of course not. So there you go. That would probably be, I mean, we're used to seeing this kind of stuff. And man, it's just beyond the pale. And of course, I guess this police officer didn't realize the cameras were still going. How did that make it to the public? Anybody know?
They thought they had their body cams off, but one of them apparently didn't know how to turn his off.
Good Lord. Well, hey, we'll follow this and see what happens. Oh, and hey, I want you people out there in Michigan to know that we're going to be talking about you guys in a minute, and we have some stuff to say about the stuff going on up in Michigan and other parts of the country. So bear with us. Let's talk a little bit more about the happenings in the motorcycle world and the MC communities. And you guys, I brought up the other day in All for One, our Facebook site, All for One, and that was we put together that Facebook site back when Waco first raised its ugly head, and they decided that they were going to send 150 something people to jail for up to 45 years if they could. I mean, we're talking about innocent people that were no more than bystanders or witnesses as best. That's when we created that All for One Facebook site. And I mentioned in that thing about things that clubs can do during this time that we're not supposed to be out and about and doing things and lockdown, basically. And some of the things I came up with is that as far as our club goes, I mean, we got out here a week ago and did what we call a Corona ride, a cabin fever ride, whatever name you want to put on it. We got out there and just rode, and really to no place in particular. And we had a great time. We didn't have to hug and on each other and stuff. We did our social distancing, and we have another one planned here pretty soon. So this is some of the stuff we're doing as a club, and of course we have political targeting going on, and meaning by that is we're looking at the people we want to speak to going into this next legislative session. And so we're working on that. We're honing our materials. We're going to have plenty to say when we are able to get in front of these people. But meanwhile, we've got to know who it is that we're going to be talking to and having our act together. So this is some of the stuff we're doing. And and of course, we're, let me see. Oh, God, yes, we're learning to do web conferencing. That's right. We're learning how to use the internet for us to meet without having to gather up. You're not supposed to have no more than 10 people in one spot. And it looks like that's going to be the way it is going forward. So we'll have to see how this works out as each state comes out of this lockdown. And we'll be talking about this in a minute too. And of course, we're looking for ways to help each other and help the motorcycling community. This is the stuff we're going to be doing. And also coming up with a plan to help small and large businesses that cater to the motorcycling community. In particular, places that, like I said, they cater to us, and they have been friendly to us. And so we'll be trying to help these places out as going forward. And either one of you guys want to comment on that? I know I said a lot. Now I got to get a drink. And I want to say hi to Ironhead. And Ironhead, he's on the chat board right now, and he is from the Detroit, Michigan area. Mel, which you probably know pretty well, don't you?
What about Michigan?
Yeah.
Well, I knew enough to stay the hell away from it.
Let me tell you, Ironhead, he can't brag too much. He was in Minnesota. But
most of Michigan that I was familiar with was called the UP, the Upper Peninsula.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I used to go over in there, and it's pretty quaint country. There's not a hell of a lot up there, and if you're driving a truck, which I did as my third retirement job, you best have a good destination in mind for a motel or a hotel, because other than that, you're going to be sleeping in the truck.
Yeah. Well, I did go up there and into the Michigan area to pick up some motorcycles for Six Pack back years back. And of course, we all know the story about Six Pack, the man with almost 100 motorcycles. That's another story. We'll say that for later. And I want to say hi to Ghost Eagle, who's on the chat line, and also Lowrider. And you guys will be talking about what's up here in a minute. So
I did in my corporate life go to the lower part of Michigan quite frequently. I had a branch office up near Detroit, that I had to visit on occasion. And it was an interesting place to visit. Let me tell you, I can remember driving. I was driving just north of Detroit. They have a huge Muslim community there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had the windows down on the car, and it was prayer time, and to hear that call to prayer was pretty awesome. I mean, because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're driving in the breadbasket, basically, of America, and you hear this call to prayer, and it was quite the thing. Another time, I was down in Detroit. I took a cab, and this is when I was working for the alarm companies. I was actually the general manager for a branch down in Chicago, and we were up in Detroit at a International Chiefs of Police convention.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was cabbing around town, and my wife and I got in the cab, and I happened to look down at his radio, and here's this huge freaking logging chain with padlocks on both sides, with the radio chained to the chassis of the car. And I looked at the cabbie and I said, "What's this all about?" He said, "That's the only way I can keep a radio in the car."
Yeah.
And then the final thing was ADT. It's probably one of the biggest alarm companies in the country.
Yeah.
Had a central station in Detroit, and they were what we call UL listed. They were a UL listed central station, and what that basically meant was for commercial accounts like jewelers and high value type stores where insurance was really expensive, if they had a UL listed alarm installation monitored by a UL listed central station, they could get like a discount on their insurance, which could be big dollar.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to be a UL listed station, you had to be visited by Underwriters Laboratories once a year. It was typically a surprise visit, and it was like a big shakedown. You know, they'd come in and look at the records and the whole bit. Well, the running joke was the UL inspector would wear a bulletproof vest because they were in a pretty bad neighborhood. And most of the time, his visits would be very brief. He'd get in, get the hell out, and he was gone, because Detroit, believe me, can be as bad as Lebanon in some areas, at least the years I was there.
Yeah. Well, well, I mean, I can comment on the calls to prayer because we one time pulled into, when I was in the Navy, we pulled into Ankara, Turkey, and that was my first experience with a call to prayer. It went on again and again and again throughout the day and night, but it was interesting, to say the least. And Mel, we want to say hello to Sasquatch, who's now on the chat room, and Tort checking in from the Hill Country chapter. So
cool.
Yeah, it's interesting and fun for us. You guys, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about one thing I want to bring attention to is the folks up in Michigan that had the protest the other day. And I want to congratulate them on a fine protest. And Mel, there is, as we know, as our motorcycle club knows, who's led many protests from Waco, for over Sand Branch, and over all these other things. There is nothing like getting out and exercising your First Amendment right. Going to your government and seeking redress for things that are just wrong, and some things that may be just beyond common sense. And so my hat is off to them. Good job. And although there were reporters today in the president's news briefing that were trying to get him to say that hey, shouldn't something be done about these people? Well, hell no. No, because the governor was wrong in what she was doing, and her name is Gretchen Whitmer, who decided she could tell you what to buy if you went into a Costco or Target or whatever store, even if you were trying to buy seeds for your garden. I mean, you're stuck at home. They want you to stay at home, but they don't want you to do anything while you're there, whether your house needs painting, whether it needs some maintenance, whether you need seed for a garden, whatever. It got to the point where she was being ridiculous. And we find this, we're going to find out going forward what others are going to step up to be just as bad. And especially when they think, let me give you this analogy. Geezer, you're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. Given a woman governor, and I hate to be a male chauvinist, but there's nothing like a female traffic guard that has a whistle and a stop sign instead of school crossing. By God, they become the boss. You're going to do whatever she says, whatever she demands, no matter what. She'll even step out in front of the damn car or your vehicle, whatever you're on or driving. But by God, you give them a little bit of authority and they go freaking wild. Yeah, and I know you guys out there know what I'm talking about because you've seen it. You've seen it. Now, I don't want to just pick on women. There's some guys that are going to be like that too. But this is what I see. She's got some authority and she goes freaking wild with it. And she's going to tell you what you can buy when you go into a store. And we got rid of the blue laws years ago, decades ago. I remember when we had them. It wasn't right then, and it's not right for her to do those kind of things now. And the people in Michigan got pissed off. They're locked up. They're being told to stay in. But you can't do a damn thing. They want you to sit in your home and not make a move to do anything. My God, I can tell you that one right there, if she could have her way, she'd have martial law. I'm just saying. But Mel, you brought up another one, the one in Arizona.
No, New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico, that's right. I'm sorry, guys, New Mexico.
Yeah, if you follow that one, especially on social media, now New Mexico, the guys in New Mexico are really big on the Second Amendment, and they're big on the Second Amendment there.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the motorcycle clubs.
Yes.
They're big on it because they're being persecuted over it.
Yeah.
Now, New Mexico is a pretty liberal state. Or I should say a blue state.
Yeah.
And there's part of the problem because you have the progressives and the liberals basically running the state, and they're anti-gun, anti-anything.
Yeah.
Well, a liberal will jump up and down and demand to be heard. When you want to be heard, they can get violent about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this governor up there has just been going crazy over red flag laws. all kinds of restrictions, trying to get a lot of crap passed. And, it's just, she's wreaking a lot of havoc. And she bears watching. She's got the sheriffs pretty well in an uproar there about over the Second Amendment, and the sheriffs are not wanting to enforce a lot of stuff she's trying to push, and it'll bear some real watching on just what she's going to do over this pandemic, because she has all of the leanings towards the same thing the governor in Michigan's doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're used to law enforcement doing selective enforcement. We're used to seeing that, and maybe in this case, it's a good thing that they have a way to push back, and so we'll see going forward. But that lady's name is Michelle Grissom. Oh yeah. We need to write these down and keep track of them. We surely will, and we'll let you know. And so, but let's not blame it all on the women, because we've got a guy in Kentucky, a governor in Kentucky. His name is Andy Bashar, or Bashir, however you say it. He decided that he's going to go after the churches. He was telling them they could not congregate even in their cars with the windows rolled up. My God, you're supposed to be at home and locked down. You shouldn't be out worshiping the Lord. You can do that in front of a television. Well, you know what? If the church is the wherewithal to have a space that they can have actually a drive-in type situation where they can sit out in a lot and listen through their radios and maybe see their preacher, and who knows, maybe they can even rent a drive-in theater, because I have a feeling drive-in theaters are going to make a comeback with all this going on. Who wants to sit next to each other in a movie theater right now? Not many. And we have a couple of old theaters here. Matter of fact, they kind of have made a comeback. It's a specialty thing, I think, but we'll see what happens here. And, shame on that governor. That's another one that's stepping out of bounds on our constitutional rights. And this is what this is all about. I mean, I asked you earlier today, we had a conversation where I had asked you, are these Center for Disease Control organizations, are they a government entity? Are they considered bureaucrats? And you want to give that answer that you gave to me?
Well, yeah, I guess if you wanted to look at a civilian version of a bureaucrat, that would probably be the best definition of them. Mm-hmm. Scientists, usually by their own nature, are probably fairly liberal to begin with. Mm-hmm. But the biggest problem you can get into with organizations like WHO and the CDC is the fact that they operate off of grant money, off of governments and countries giving them money. Mm. And it's just like a political candidate. When he gets a huge donation from somebody, there's usually strings attached. And you can bet that the money going into the CDC, be it from governments, wealthy individuals, or whatever, there can be some strings attached.
Yeah.
And you can bet there are some political agendas running within the CDC, and we damn sure know and have read about a lot of garbage going on between WHO and China. So it kind of brings back memories of Vietnam. I used to ask all the time, why the hell can't we bomb Hanoi Harbor? I mean, we were bombing the crap out of the rest of Vietnam.
Yeah.
So why was Hanoi Harbor so special? Well, it finally came to pass that it was disclosed, and not generally, but some insider information was there were a lot of ships sitting in Hanoi Harbor that had American cargo on it, and that cargo was from some very wealthy individuals within the United States
Mm-hmm.
who were calling the shots with the federal government, saying, you keep your warplanes the hell out of Hanoi Harbor because I don't want to lose my cargo. So, it it just runs rampant. And unless you start shining spotlights on the cockroaches, you're never going to know the truth.
Yeah. I just had somebody post on the chat board here. Can I ride a double-deck motorcycle? I'm trying to picture that, John. So, man, you guys today, I guess it was today, it may have been yesterday. Her name is Crystal Sinema. She's a senator, a Democratic senator, that has said, stop the bullshit, pass the stimulus package needed for small businesses. The other 250 billion or 300 billion, whatever it is. She's telling Democrats to get off their asses, stop the playing around, and pass the damn bill as is, without a bunch of mess added to it. So, good for her.
Well, there's kind of a major problem right now, because nothing's going to get passed until you get all the bureaucrats back into Washington.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pass legislation with all of the members of Congress not in D.C., and that they are not in D.C. I heard Rush Limbaugh talking about that today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why right now the Democrats are having a hell of a problem, because they can't pass any new rules or anything without their members actually physically being present to vote on it.
Yeah.
So the president typically has the run of Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah.
So, we can talk all we want to about pending legislation, but nothing's going to happen until you get these leeches back into D.C.
Yeah.
And they're not going back to D.C. because they're scared to death.
They're not going back to D.C. because they believe it's going to hurt Donald Trump. That's the bottom line. They're not going to. They're not going to cooperate with very much. Period. And y'all, John says that that's two hollies stacked on top of one another. You're going to have to send us a picture of that. It'll go on the front page of TexasBikerRadio.org. Oh, yes, it will. Writing it, I don't know. That might be. I'm not tall enough. I would say.
Well, he says it's got hydraulics on it.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess you could lower it and raise it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, send us a picture because I'm having a problem in my mind with it. Although if I drink enough Coronas, I can see it. Right, guys? And Geezer's drinking Bloody Marys. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Although this Corona's good. It is good. But we're not making fun of the COVID-19 and all the deaths and everything else that's going on. It's real. We've been doing our part and staying in. Of course, I've got all of the conditions that would keep me pinned in. But I'm not going to live my life in fear. And we should get out and do certain things. It's not going to, us getting out and riding, getting out of the house and riding is not going to kill anybody. Well, maybe some idiot pulls out in front of us, but it's not going to be related to the virus. Now, it does not hurt if you take your family for a ride in the car just to get out of the damn house. You can't stay pinned up. And we also can't stay out of business. Every day this goes forward as is, we are losing businesses, especially small businesses that work on the margin, small margins, and businesses that maybe just opened their doors and have got all their money invested in it, who need the capital now. And we have the Democrats fucking around with this thing. Everybody remember this in November. Remember this. Don't forget. And who knows, Mel? Before this is all over, we may join Michigan. There may need to be a nationwide protest because we have all these cities, including like Dallas and Fort Worth and Houston, that are run by these goofies. And you know what political persuasion I'm talking about, because we've already seen it in the one in Dallas and also the one in Fort Worth. They cares about nothing but bicycle paths. Oh, and wait a minute, Mel. Today in Arlington, where I live here, they had a town hall. I guess that's what it was. A COVID town hall with the mayor. And there was a lady that came on there. Listen to this, guys. She came in there and she said, my son is now living with me. He don't have a place to live. She said, but he goes out carousing around every night. She said, with all these young ladies and all these other people, she said, he comes in, she said, I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death. I don't want him here doing that. And you know what their answer was? You guys ready for this?
I can only imagine.
Their answer was, you need to have a talk with him, and good luck. This lady's scared to death. But, I mean, I when I heard that, I thought, just what the hell? That's a person needing some help. That's a person that needs some intervention with her son. Like telling him, hey, if you're going to go out there and do this stuff, you need to get the hell away from your mother, who has underlying conditions. Now, that's a kid that doesn't give a shit. But let me
I was going to say,
go ahead.
The next time he does that, she needs to pack his bags and have them on the front porch. So when he gets home, they're there and he gets the message.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
You're at.
I'll almost bet he's one of the types that will just raise hell, probably break into the house, and no telling what he might do. And if that was to happen, I mean, how are these people with the city going to feel after getting a phone call from her asking for help? Just saying. Just saying. But it gets worse. Let's move to Temple, Texas. Are you guys ready for this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said yes. Temple, Texas. A 96-year-old lady who gets her hair done every week. She's been going on locked in the house, and she was upset because she's not able to get her hair done. Well, she calls her uh, beauty salon, and she talks to the owner there, and she said, "Oh, I would really like to get my hair done. Could you come to my home and do it?" That way, she'd come to the house and take precautions, and so she goes to the lady that owns the beauty salon goes to the house. Goes to the house. Well, they go to the garage to do her hair, and they've got the garage door open. What happens? The Temple police come by and they write the salon keeper a $500 ticket. Now, I don't know that, this is a good image for the police. When they go to doing that to a salon keeper that's trying to do the right thing, trying to help a lady out. She's 96 years old. I don't know if that puts a good image in everybody's mind about the police. And, the more we see these goofy type things go on, the worse it gets, I think. I mean, we saw for days on end where the police and the fire department up in New York City were going outside the hospitals, applauding the first responders, I guess the healthcare workers, clapping and carrying on, sounding sirens and standing next to each other. People that are on the front lines, people who can get it on their shoes because they're going in and out of ICUs and these hospitals. You would think they would know better. But yet we have this thing happening in Temple. I mean, I realize that the citizens out here, I realize that when all this first happened, they were trying to protect the frontline workers, the health workers, the fire departments. I get all that. The police departments, that they were trying to make sure there were enough PPEs, which means face masks, gowns, and all that kind of crap, all that kind of stuff. They were trying to make sure it didn't get overrun, and the hospitals didn't get overrun. So they were telling us people that are chopped liver, you don't need a mask. And they're still saying, hey, if you're feeling bad, call your doctor. Don't go to the hospital. We don't want to see you. Now, I realize that, and I think we all do, that nobody expected this to happen. And we're doing all this stuff on the fly. We're playing catch up with this disease, is what we're doing. And we're still not there. And you guys, I know I said a lot right there talking about those people standing next to each other up in New York City. I mean, my God, we had people go out there to take pictures of that hospital ship coming into the harbor, taking pictures and standing next to each other. And we're going to have a cop down in Temple, Texas, write a hairdresser a $500 ticket for doing a lady's hair. Really? Really? We're going to have a cop in Temple, Texas, who maybe should do wellness checks or something, that are stopping a couple of bikers as they went into a Quick Trip, or I think it was a Quick Trip, went in there and they come outside and they're going around their bikes with a freaking dog? With all this going on? You would think they might have something better to do during this period of time. And let the people use common sense. There's plenty of us that have common sense. I realize there's some stupid people out there, but my God, man, you guys, I said a lot there. Do you want to comment on any of that? Am I wrong?
No. Now, we need to be getting back to work and like you said earlier, we're going to be like Michigan. The whole country's going to be like Michigan. Yeah. We're all going to be out in the streets, ready to go. I don't want to say ready to go to war, but ready to get them to start moving.
Yeah, I mean, people are beginning to get pissed off at what they're seeing happen to their country, to their city, to their state. They're beginning to get pissed off at all this stuff. And we have all this stuff going on. We have, we're following, well, all of a sudden the Democrats are all about science. Of course, they use it to push the Green New Deal and all this other crap. But now they're all about science. We got to follow the science. This is what we're doing. We've shut the country down following science. They scared the president, and Cuomo was one of them. They scared the hell out of him. We need 40,000 ventilators. We need 40,000 ventilators. He's beating the president and the federal government up about it. And by God, it turns out they didn't need that many. They didn't need 40,000.
Now he's shipping them to other states.
Now he's shipping them to other states. He ought to have his tail between his legs over this mess. But you know what? It's the science that scared the hell out of them.
Well, our Dallas County judge, he's got the $2 million a week. 120 beds in the Kate Bailey Hutchinson Center hadn't been used.
Yeah, exactly.
It's costing Dallas $2 million a week for that.
Is it costing Dallas or us as American taxpayers $200 a week?
Well, he wants to charge the federal government, but I would tell him if you're not using them, we're not paying for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And OG, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. So, anyway, you guys, I mean, anything else we haven't covered? You guys on the chat board, you got a question? We'll wait a couple of seconds.
Well, I want to clear something up about Dallas County.
Okay, today. Go ahead. Whoa, boy.
It came out that Judge Jenkins has a new mandate in Dallas County, and that mandate is that anyone working at an essential business or in the public transportation going to work, it's mandatory that they wear a mask. Not only is it mandatory that they wear a mask, but like these essential businesses, a grocery store. If you go to the grocery store, it is now mandatory. If you walk into a grocery store, a doctor's office, or anything else like that, you must be wearing a face cover. They're not being specific saying a mask, they're saying face cover.
Yeah.
And public transportation, you must wear a face cover. If you're outside walking or in your own car, that's not required.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people think that you can be cited for not wearing that face cover, and as it turns out, that's not true. Because I watched Judge Jenkins make the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said basically was, yes, it is mandatory. However, no police officer is going to issue a citation. But the place of business or the public transport can tell you that you're not welcome and you have to leave.
Yeah.
So that's how they're leaving that. They're expecting people to comply, and if you don't comply, if the business owner or the person running that particular business wants you out, they can tell you to leave.
Yeah. One of the on the chat room here, it says, when can we ride as an MC against this as a show of force? Well, we're going to do it Sunday. We're definitely going to get out Sunday. And, I mean, it's like I said, this is all therapeutic. You should not have to stay in your house 24/7. You can get out and do the essential things you need to do. Well, guess what? Getting out and riding my motorcycle, getting out of the house, getting tired of being in the house is essential. It is.
That's
And
correct.
I'll argue that with anybody, any law enforcement, any government agency, any of them that want to go there. I will argue that point with them, period. No matter what they do to me, and I would not pay a fine, period, period, period. Just my train of thought. But see, Big Lock says that why are so many people building shelters or bomb shelters or whatever you want to call them, man caves under the ground, this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't have enough room.
Now, I will say this. I think if you ride in a group larger than 10, you're asking to be stopped.
Well, that's when we split up into groups of 10.
Yeah.
The first 10, the second 10, the third 10, whatever.
Well, that's the way we used to do it in the Boundary Waters.
Well, that's the way we did it when we first started riding, and everybody ran amok.
And, I haven't heard anything about peg to peg, but I know when we went for our ride, we did staggered.
Yeah, we did
formation.
stagger on this last ride, but I really, really love peg to peg. That's so damn exciting.
Oh, it is. It is.
And
You
so,
definitely have to pay attention.
yeah, and so exhilarating. It really is. And generally makes the ride, what's the word? Thrilling. Even a simple one. So you're right. We have to pay a lot of attention when doing that. You guys, anything else you want to add before we're getting near our allotted time?
No, I've pretty much said all I need to say.
Nothing to say in closing, Geezer?
Not really. I saw a funny thing though about COVID rules. I can't remember what post it was on, but just a couple of them. Basically, you can't leave the house for any reason, but if you have to, then you can.
That's true.
Masks are useless, but maybe you have to wear one. It can save you, but maybe it is mandatory as well.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on like that.
Well, it could be.
It's
right
true. They don't know what they're doing, but they're making us do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're working from behind and you don't really have the data to go by, and you're just kind of winging it. But the virus right now, or it did have control. It seems to be flattening out. And we'll see where Texas goes. I'm interested in where Michigan goes now. And I'm interested also in what other goofy things, because there's all these cities that are controlled by liberals that are capable of doing the most stupid things we've ever heard of. And that is exciting to me because we're going to be pointing it out. And even if it's on the Republican side, we'll be pointing it out. Use common sense. If you got pre-existing conditions, watch out. Watch out. Do what they say. If you don't, and you want to throw caution to the wind, which I see a lot of right now, there's plenty of people out there that are not practicing any of this. I see them every day. We'll find out. We'll find out going forward. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. With that, everybody, this is Texas Biker Radio. I'm Butch Popeye Moss. Thank you, OG, and thank you, Geezer, for joining us tonight. And thank you, everybody on the chat line. Hey, you guys in Michigan, pass the word. We're going to have more to say as we go forward here. Like I said, we may need a national protest before this is all over with. We're going to keep a close eye on it. And bikers are going to do their part. With that, everybody, good evening and ride safe.
Good night.
Good night.